Hello, hello, and welcome. I'm Nick, and once again, nature calls, which of course means that it's time for DooM WAD Travelogue, this show where we say just because it is not a great idea to go out right now doesn't mean we can't still explore new and interesting spaces. We're just going to do it in the form of Doom WADs and level packs. Now, today, see, I missed my Saturday night stream for because I was on somebody else's stream, so I still streamed. It just wasn't here. But since I didn't have to push all of the buttons, um, I feel like I've forgotten how to do all of this. I always feel like I've forgotten how to do all of this. It's fine. Um, so we're getting into it. Today, I'll be honest. I don't super know what to expect from today's selection. I am to understand that it was an April Fool's joke. Uh, and it's linear Doom. So my understanding of this is basically, they took an entire episode of Doom levels and put them into a single map, and also made it a perfectly straight corridor just decorated to be reminiscent of the rooms of that episode. So like in a normal episode where we see like new and interesting rooms and spaces, like okay, I don't know if we're so much going to be like that, but I think this is going to be fun as like a goof of recontextualizing things we know. Like this is one of those oh, I don't know, it's kind of the exercise of like when you take something that, everybody knows, or you take something, you take one thing, yeah, I don't know, let's pick something random here, like a snurp, and you apply like iconic characteristics from other characters and objects and you slap them onto it, so that way it's like, oh, this isn't that thing, but you've applied the characteristics such that now I can tell exactly what it is supposed to be, and it's a new way of looking at things, and it can be kind of fun. um yeah, a snurp, everybody knows what a snurp is. It's common knowledge, old wives' tale. you know when you remember in Up when the old man wants to get the Boy Scout to go away and he sends him on a snurp hunt? It's fine. Um, so anyway, I'm not super sure what to expect here. I love this title screen because it kind of lets you know what the deal is. Um, why was the lo-fi beats on this scene? I mean, I'm not complaining. I love the lo-fi beats, but what? All right, let's play Doom. Um, so this is based on the Doom 1 episodes. Uh, and if this is your first time watching the show, we are here for the exploration, or in this case, we're here just to see the gag. Not for the challenge. So we play on the easiest, and if something is like unreasonably hard or seems broken maybe, or we just can't figure it out, instead of slamming our heads against it 20 times, we'll drop in cheat codes or whatever it takes to just push through and see more of the level. Um, I don't know. Oh, I can't wait to see this full map. Um, so yeah, you all know E1M1. We have our fake door behind us. I love this. This really just captures it though. The windows on the side, which I love that they are fake and not real skyboxes. Um, the change in textures, the sort of doorways. I think all the heights seem accurate. The accuracy to the textures used in the level in question. Yep, okay. And then this like computer room. We didn't really have the room where you go up to get the armor. But hey, we don't have the armor. Alright. All right, I'm gonna go through that. It's all forward. Ah, this is not so much going to be a dodging level. Hey, would you please get? I touched the toxins. Okay. God, I love that you can just tell what this is. It's narrow, but you can just tell. Normally it'd be like right here. Okay, so I guess that's really not there. Well, because then there would also be this whole other thing on this side. Actually, no, normally. It did! It did, it did, it did! Because the whole thing is there's a walk trigger right here that when you cross it, it lowers this platform. Normally it raises back up and there's a secret door behind it. But listen, even just getting it to drop. God, it's... They ported it to 1D is the thing. Like, this is a port. I love that. I really don't know what we're going to get out of this. Okay, so they are doing wideness for the sake of decoration. But you notice how they're not actually letting us in there. Okay, so then we hit exit. Okay, it is broken up into levels. I thought they had taken the entire episode and put it in one corridor. Huh. Alright, which one is two? We didn't get a shotgun in that last level. Oh, right. And then you go... Like, it's weird because sometimes it is like the room has been squished sideways and you really get the sense of both walls. But some of these rooms, like this one, like, maybe that's what's happened, but it's really almost like taking a slice of the room. Whoa. Hello. Yeah, I'll take that. Okay. Yep, here's that rounded hallway, which has just been squished flat. We come up here, and there's a red key. Good, 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 good. Right, because then you go down the middle, and then you go down the other side of the hallway. Wow, so, okay. So when we look at this hallway in the original, right? It's actually, it's a big U, but then the center of the U has a leg that sticks down, so you go up one side, down the leg, and then backtrack to the other. And I like that what they've kind of had to do here is sort of like take that weird, I guess in this case it ends up being shaped sort of like an M, you know, just that these are overlaid. And they've just taken the whole thing and just stretched it out until it's a flat line. But it is like we are hitting these pieces in the order that it's specifically that navigation path. So it's not just straightening out the geometry. It is straightening out. It is keeping things in the order which you would encounter them, because you would go down that leg to get the key, and then back down the other hallway. And this is the other hallway because the window is on the same side, which compared to the slope of the stairs is the other side, so that's how you can tell that it is the one on the other side. Gosh, wouldn't that put one of them like over here? Or was that another one where... No, that's another one where there's like a walk trigger that opens that. I'll be honest, I'm not really a fan of the I'm not really a fan of the... Oh, you can't go backwards! Oh, wild. And then down here, and it opens onto the thing. Oh, nobody's up there. Huh. Well, normally there would be a switch here to open the doors. Okay, but then down here. And... oh yeah, and here's that little room at the end, which normally through this window you can see the start. And... oh, okay. Yeah, I don't think we're really gonna like learn anything from this. But it is like a fun gag. Okay, this is the one with the poison. Normally this is a big U with the gap in the middle. So, okay, so this is a level where the poison pit, I can picture it in my mind. Normally we visit that because you have to go out like one side and then you go out the other side. So I wonder if there's going to be a similar section to this later on in this corridor to basically signify the backtracking, right? It's going to have to work that way. If you insist. Okay, yeah, that skylight's iconic. Which is like a wild thing to say, right? Just like, oh, a skylight and the light that the shape on the floor that it casts. This combination. Oh, I'm going to get hit by that. Here we go. Here's the O of destruction. No, this isn't the O of destruction. But this is this toxin pit. Did you know buttons have infinite height? It's cool like that. But so you have to deal with that O, that oval. Cool. And now this is going to be... go in, we get this, and the lights go out, and the monsters reveal. Yeah, okay. Oh no, so we didn't revisit that really. Okay, there's the steps that race. See, so I would have done it differently, I guess, because I would have like, oh, here we can go backwards. Like when we go here, you do have to like backtrack all the way down this hallway through here. So I would have put all of this stuff again going forwards. But they have done like each piece once and skipped the backtracking feeling, which I feel like that doesn't necessarily actually capture the feeling of the level then, because like I don't know why, but this specific level, I feel like the backtracking is an element of it. It's one of the first times where you really have to do backtracking. Why does that stick out like that? This is silly. This is silly and I like it. Also, I think that would have been the level that had the secret exit. So I wonder if there is no secret level. This is kind of how nostalgia works, right? You just take all of the iconic bits, you get sort of like your distilled down caricature of the sections that you remember, and then you just piece all of those characterized elements together in a row in your mind. This is nostalgia. This is like okay, this is this big weird maze section. Yeah, okay. This is like a digital physical representation of nostalgia. What did that do? That didn't do anything. Or it didn't do anything here. It did something elsewhere? Single light square here in the middle. Oh, this one's sideways. Oh, fancy. That's really interesting, right? Like, oh, what room is this? That's a very specific choice to make. What room is this? Is this the Bobo slab? Map 5? Oh, right. It's the one that starts with the lava pit you have to run across. Okay. Why does the light tilt in? Light glows out. Light would expand outwards. Anyway. But, like, imagine doing this for other... Like, I feel like everyone could do this for their favorite game, right? You just be like, okay, here are the key elements. Here's how we distill them down. Here's how we... Just give me the things that I remember about them, and then we'll put them in an order. Also, I realized a very apt comparison is to talk about Action Doom again. The one we played a little while ago that was like, hey, I'm a not a Castlevania, I'm a Contra. See, normally this. Fine, be that way. Yeah, that mazy computer site. Something about the way that this drops down, and the way that the blinking lights around it. What? Like, it's incredible that you can make a single hallway iconic of a whole room, right? Is it fun? It's fun because it's scratching my nostalgia itch. But what was I talking about? The if we compare this to Action Doom, because this is like the illogical conclusion of that, which is there's not like all of the action is exactly in one direction, but there's no branches, there's no dodging around. Like in that one, there was the section where like you hit a fork in the road. If you try to go one way, it blocks off, and then the other way to go. But you still have those like jukes left and right to make you feel like you're navigating a more complex space, because you don't necessarily have to turn and fight this way, but you do veer, right? You don't turn, you veer. And then also between Contra and the Castlevania one that we played, we talk a lot about the different ways that you need to like hide information depending on like screen structure, essentially. Like this one is the thing about these is that like yes, we have all of these doorways that are clearly separating sections, and we have some of these spaces that are playing with height differences, but it's playing with height differences because like a room, if some of those original Doom levels really like a whole room could just be a staircase, right? A whole hallway could be a staircase. So they are like major elements. But in the same kind of like, you know, when we were talking about those other like NES game inspired WADs, I kept talking about like, okay, well, in a side scroller, you can only see to the edge of the screen, and then how do you hide? And so normally it's when that's how you hide that's how you hide things, is you put them ahead of you off screen. Whereas first person shooter, you're always looking ahead. You can see all of ahead. So how do you block that? And you normally block that with a turn, you know? You either do it with a door or a turn. So this one is definitely using doors, but it's doing this weird thing where by taking out all of the turns, like we can see from where we entered, where we see this lava pit, we can see that computer section is up ahead of us. Although I'll be honest, the narrowness of the hallway, right? And just the effects of perspective, like it is hard to get like, it is hard to see that computer. I did not recognize that from back here, right? So we got like an extreme perspective thing going on, because we see it's like it's like when you put lettering on a road and you have to make them like 4 feet tall, because when you see them from an extreme angle, they actually looks really tiny. So you have to adjust for that and make them 4 feet tall, so that way they look normal when you're approaching them. 4 feet, 12 feet, however tall. It's ridiculous when you realize what the ratio is. And that's kind of a thing that we have going here, because since we really only have the side walls that are so close to us, it's like putting your head down on a surface and it's like trying to read a book with your ear touching the page, where like, yeah, okay, the word right here you can probably see really clearly if you just look at it, but the word on the, even on the other side of the page is going to be, perspectively far and angled, so it's going to be minuscule. So there's this weird, like, just by being a very narrow hallway like this, it is so it feels like going through a time warp, where you, even though you can see forever ahead of you, except for the occasional cases of doors, or I guess right here, a staircase, you actually really only have a good sense of what's immediately near you, because anything, more than a room's length in the distance is so warped by perspective that it's a dot. It's hard to make out. And that's interesting. That's kind of wild. Like, I imagine, like, if this were same concept, still linear, but you let every room have like its standard width, it would be way easier to see the things in the distance, because you could tell them apart by, well, first of all, it would be wider. So you would be, further away from that page, at which point, you can just see it all in you can see it all in like a low vision cone, basically. So the fact that it because it's so narrow, because the idea is like, it's one dimensional essentially, and it's like, okay, and that's like good for the gag, but it's actually paying off for another way to solve that answer of how do you hide things that are off screen without using like 90-degree turns and without using, tons of extra doors. This is actually kind of crazy that how well this it's not even forced perspective, it just is perspective, and is achieving this great effect. That's wild. That's really cool. Is it useful? I wouldn't go that far. Like, that's the thing. This is how wide this hallway is, right? That you can basically do left or right, and that's it. That's how wide it is. You could theoretically play 2 players and just stand next to next with each other. Next to next, boy. That's wild. This is kind of wild. You see, like, this is what I mean, right? Like this is sort of what you would expect. It's just like, okay, we get our start room, start hallways, whatever. This is a like central, yeah, this is that weird. This is like the most Dungeons and Dragons ass map in episode 1, I think. But like, you have this room, or I guess this is actually a couple of hallways represented here, and it ends with a door, and the door hides what's ahead, which you think you need to lean on doors. But then actually we can also just lean on distance. Enough distance makes things hard to see. In this, when your view cone is this narrow. I am shocked at this. Again, is it useful? Like, well, no, because the mechanic that makes it work is the fact that it is a super narrow hallway. So So unless you want to do like what they've done here and make the entire thing a super narrow hallway, like you might be able to use it now and then. Like I said, the idea that it feels like a time warp, right? So if you have so if you have a sequence that you essentially want to be like a long hallway with a warp sense of like, okay, there's clearly a lot of it, but I only get a good look at a tiny bit of it. Like that is what this effect is capturing, and there are times when you want that effect. But I can't imagine constantly wanting that effect, right? What is this? Hey! Isn't there normally secret up there? Right, because isn't this that room? No, it might not be. You know what? I can't tell. Okay, here's that bridge where there's a secret over there. See, I do kind of wish that they would have... I would like to see the half step between this and Action Doom, where, yes, your navigable path is an extremely narrow hallway. Maybe we can add turns to it. I don't think that's a problem. We can rely on that. But, like, this room is a bridge over an acid pit with like tunnels running out of it, and like use the width for decoration purposes. You know, leave the navigable path this railroad, but decorate with it. Like this is, again, you might, by making rooms wider for that sake, you might lose the effect of that time warp effect. It's that time warp effect that, I mean, that's... Oh, we're at Phobos Anomaly already. Like, that's neat, because that's part of what's making this work so well, is like, yeah, no, this feels like a... Or that's why it feels like nostalgia, because like, oh, this is a time warp. We're in a time warp, and we're just like... This is what it feels like when you... Ow. This is what it feels like when you think about it. This is perusing your memories of episode 1, you know? Anakin's there. This is pod racing. Oh boy. This seems bad. Oh my god. That is a well... That was like a calculated distance to DPS moment. Wow. And like, go back and check, but it gave us like a specific amount of health and armor to be sure that we started with, to make sure that we wouldn't get killed by that, right? Boy, that was... Yeah, and then you go around and you explore the rest of the star area. And then you fall off the tip of the star, right? And then you go up the steps. And then we step on the thing. Wow. Yeah, that's... Okay, so I don't know if we're really learning anything we can apply, but it is a great example of this thing that I always talk about, which is that, like, the like size of your level isn't necessarily related to like navigable space or length of time to finish. Like those more lead to a sense of tedium as those go up. The length of your level is what they are doing here, is like, how many memorable moments does it have? How many, you know, if you made a bullet point checklist of things that happened, how many things does that have? Because like, Phobos Anomaly is already a short level. This is even shorter, right? Because this is just boiled down to, here are the things you do. You go here, you barrels, this, the fight with this guy, then you explore the star, and then you step out, and then you're done. Like, it, these, in a really weird way, are an accurate representation of the feel of the length of these levels, you know? This is really fascinating to me, at least. But like, sort of like when you're designing your level and you're like, okay, how long do I want this level to feel? You know, like, kind of do it this way. Like, all right, you sort of trim out the backtracking, you trim out sticking your nose into corners looking for secrets, you trim out fighting, you know, a room full of dudes, but you think, okay, there is a fight here. But you turn everything into like the shortest possible version of it, the smallest possible version of it, and that is your bullet pointed list. And the longer that list is, the longer that level feels, right? And that's the thing, because like then when you think about like size of encounters or traversable space, that is going to lead to like a length of time. And what you're looking for is like the ratio of the length of that bulleted list to the length of time going through that bulleted list. Because the longer the time, I don't know what the ideal ratio is. I could make some theoretical ratio there, but the longer the time is without the list getting longer, the bigger that difference, you're only adding tedium, you know? I've been playing, let me switch over for a second here because I'm just talking now. I've been playing a bunch of, you know, Steam sales going on. I picked up the Master Chief Collection, and I've been going back and playing Doom 1. Halo 1. And it's miserable. Like, and I just need to get this off my chest. Like, so, okay. That game came out when I was in late middle school, early high school. Here's the thing. It's not even a Doom clone. It thinks that it's a Half-Life clone. But Halo is the linear, repetitive corridor shooter that everyone has been decrying for the last, like, 2 decades. And, like, yet everyone was like, no, Halo was, you know... Hey, what's up, Rickson? You came for the rant section of today's episode. Like, Halo was a landmark moment. And it was a landmark moment because it made a good console FPS. But it was really a landmark just in, like, input and, like, player physics, right? Like, I think if you look at the game, the actual biggest steps that it took were just in terms of, like, button mapping and ideas of, like, input acceleration on analog sticks for viewing and stuff like that. Maybe some smart things about cursor changing color when you're in range for things, or when you're highlighted. I don't know if the original one had specific push toggle things, aim assist. I missed that word completely. Or even, like, I'm trying to think, because when I think about playing, like, Quake 2, even, like, Quake 3, I think of, like, 4 pixels in the middle of my screen, and that's my crosshair, compared to when I've been playing in Halo, where every gun has a unique crosshair that not only, like, tells you what weapon you're using while keeping your vision centered on the screen, but is usually representative to some extent of the spread / effective range of that weapon. And it's like, the things that they did a good job with are, like, they made some of the best quality of life improvements that I bet helped, not only in the fact that these were people who were playing on a controller, which does have like another degree of separation from the direct input that a keyboard and mouse gives you, or mouse at least. You know, 1-to-1 versus not tilt controls, but like, you know what I mean, a mouse versus a stick. Very specifically, that is the difference. Like, I've thought about being one of those people who plays left hand on a controller, right hand on a mouse. I've thought about being that person, and that makes a lot of sense to some degree. But as far as like the game, and you know, after over a year of doing this show and just all of my other like game design learnings that I've had since I originally played Halo, that game is kind of miserable. It is so. All right, what list can I go down about how bad Halo is? Oh man, oh, this is where we're at. Pillar of Autumn, the library, Silent Cartographer, like I feel like people remember there is one level of Halo where it is like the whole level is kind of like a closed off island with some crisscrossing paths, and I guess that is the Silent Cartographer level. Not any of the parts where you're inside, but the like island above the cartographer and the control room. Like when you're on that, I'm still not even sure that it is like completely, if it is linear or if you can actually, because there's like, oh, there's 3 groups of soldiers, we got to go around and rescue them all. You might be able to do those non-linearly, which would be neat. And at the time, I think people really latched onto that. That's like the 3rd or 4th level, and as far as I can tell, it is the only level that has that. So it's like neat that it's in there, but it is not representative of the whole game to lean on that as like iconic of that game. It is memorable about that game. It is not like man. So if we tried to do this style of sort of like demake of Halo, it would be clear that there's like one good level. No, all right. I played Reach, and I'm still working on Halo 1, so I can't say there's only one good level. Okay, the Warthog escape at the end, I know that that's memorable and sort of fine, especially for what it's going for. But when you think about the Pillar of Autumn, when you think about the library, when you think about just like stretches where you are, there's the one where you're rescuing keys from the Truth and Reconciliation. Is that what chip is called? I'm learning Halo stuff. I'm learning Halo lore, and I don't think I'm happy about it. Just through osmosis. But it's a lot of, okay, you're in a space, you're going to go through hallways. The hallways are going to have twists and turns, so it like feels like you're in a complex. But once you get that feeling of being in a complex, it keeps doing that in a way that is not interesting, doesn't add anything but length and repetition, right? Like I was just saying with here, like, so like a couple of levels ago here, there was that section where normally it is like a maze that you work through, and I recognized it, but it really didn't have the feeling of it because it didn't have the twists and turns. We could have done that with like, 6 corners. That would have been enough, and be like, oh, this is the maze section, and it feels like a maze. And it could, well, also part of that is mazes feel not contaminated, not contagious, claustrophobic, because all of your shite lines, boy, I'm riding a shite line today. All of the sight lines are extremely truncated. You see like a small area around you and one or more ports to other areas, but then every area is just as short sight lined. You can't like trace long routes. That's why they feel so I just said it. I found the word, I said it, and I lost it again. claustrophobic. That's why they feel so claustrophobic and sort of anxiety inducing, because it's just like you don't have a lot of information. You don't have a lot of sight. But again, if you do the same thing like Halo, like it gives you enough to give you that feeling, then it keeps going for some reason. And it is super linear. Like, a weird thing that it does, like, okay, you can say that Doom is fairly linear. Arguably, all right, here's where I'm going to try and stretch myself a little bit. Arguably, you could say that something like Metroid is linear, because you have a place where you start and a place where you're trying to get to. The non-linearity of it comes from the fact that you could get those in different orders, or you could get there different ways, but the ways you can get there are actually still ordered in terms of, well, you need this power up to get to these, or these power up to get to these. And as you learn techniques to not need those, then those pieces of the path become optional. And when you take out all of the optional parts of the path, the sort of exploration that you no longer need as you become more familiar and know things, what you are left with is like your optimal speedrun linear path, and there's just a way that you go. There's no longer a reason to explore elsewhere, or there are no more decisions to make about the path. It's the start, I'm going to get to the end, and this is the path I will take. I'm not going to have that whole argument right now, especially because there's nobody to defend it right now necessarily. And also, I don't think that would resolve in anything good. This is more a gut feeling I have than a real argument. But so I think, calling anything necessarily like linear is moot, because on some level everything is linear. Anything that has a start and a end is linear in some fashion. So it's a silly thing to complain about. But like, even in normal Doom levels, you talk about that U of design. Linear in the sense of a lack of the sort of foreshadowing that I talk about in a lot of Doom levels. That U design. You start at one end of the U, the end is, or the finish is the other end of the U, and you can see it, but then you have to work your way towards it. Halo doesn't have that. Halo gets the idea that when you enter an area, you want to see something interesting and have like a set piece moment that sort of sets the tone for an area. But it's never the area. It's always a skybox or a ship up there or something else. Or like, I swear there was one case where it's just like, okay, we're going to start here, and you're going to see a skybox with a pre-rendered version of the thing that you will be at later, but you're not seeing the actual one. They love to, like, Halo likes to be a picture book of yes, no, we're going to show you something interesting, but it's not the level you're currently on. The interesting thing we're showing you is this cutscene or this skybox or this whatever. It is very, I think they got better with it, because like I said, I played Reach first, and there are some moments in Reach where it's like, oh, this whole level, this whole zone is kind of a mood and has a vibe, and being in the level is what gives you the vibe of it. That's cool. But in original Halo, and I can remember, even still in Reach in some spots, it's just like, okay, you're going to step in and you're going to see this thing, and you're going to go, wow, this thing, and it's going to be completely separated from then the actual game and level and actions that you go through, and that's a bummer. I guess really I just wanted to complain about Halo. I was never a fan of Halo, but it's because I used to be, a middle schooler or high schooler or whatever, and, I was not immune to propaganda, Garfield told me, and, console wars, oh, Xbox sucks, PlayStation forever, which only happened after I got after I uh, skipped the GameCube in favor of getting a PlayStation, because PlayStation had, what did PS2 have? I don't remember what PS2 had. PS2 just had like a bigger library. Maybe not necessarily better, but bigger library. But now I hate it for real reasons. Like, it's poorly designed in a way that I can articulate. Yeah, like the thing that I'm looking at is like, so like I was saying, the fact that what the most important thing Halo did was make a shooter that felt good for consoles, which people had put shooters on consoles and they were all miserable. They were hard to play, they were unintuitive, they were whatever. What they did is they made an intuitive experience that you could really have fun with. Like, yeah, the Halo multiplayer is extremely good because like the pieces that they gave lean into that experience. There are some people who are really into like the single player and the lore of Halo, and playing it co-op. Co-op can kind of save anything, but then it's a social experience as well as like a media experience. So that conflates things a little bit. But yeah, like the things that they fixed were things that made something that was fun to play, and then they made a bad, like, boy, I don't even remember if like the geometry of Halo 1 multiplayer maps was rubbish from a certain standpoint, but like they thought they were making something good. They thought they were making a Half-Life level thing when you look at the like amount of lore in there and the amount of like cutscenes and characters, and the fact that in the middle of it they start going like, actually this is a zombie horror game now, and it's just like, it's like, oh, okay, you were going for something and you didn't get it, good, but like they put effort. It wasn't like they knew that they made something good and then slapped in a campaign out of obligation for, sales or whatever. And they were like, but actually this is a multiplayer game. Also, because people have tried that, and like, multiplayer only games don't necessarily sell. But even games that are primarily played in multiplayer only by the audience need some sort of single player on it to actually sell. I don't know why this is. I don't have a theory to try to explain it yet, but that's just kind of how it goes. Oh yeah, the when they got into the Forge stuff, and like custom game modes were good. I like Death Race because there was the one map. This is Halo 3. The one map around like a crash site, but like you could leave the map and it would just start like bombarding you. And so what we set up was, it's like, okay, it's like basically like jousting. So it's like the big circle just outside of the map, and we sort of like were driving at each other top speed, because as long as you were driving top speed, you could outrun the bombardment and stay alive. And it was just like, okay, we're gonna try to ram or just throw grenades at each other to make the other one slow down enough to blow up. And that was our Death Race mode, and it's so good. Or even Halo Horse, which is really the inspiration for when I talk about BeamNG.Horse, because that was just like, here's a big ramp, and like the driving controls in Halo, which again, they made a lot of sense when it was like, oh, we haven't figured this out for a console yet. They had racing games that made sense, but for some reason, like doing it with a first-person shooter where you have like free camera control also just outwitted people, or they just didn't want to just use the standardized driving controls. Don't ask me why. It's just like, hey, here's just a big ramp and a small landing platform, and just try and get it. And honestly, just that of like, let's just, at that point it becomes like like a physics phone game where it's just like, oh no, like yeah, no, this isn't complex or anything, but it is just like betting on the physics working out and then laughing at the different ways in which it fails. There's something about physics-based games that are inherently funny because they are hard. Physics are hard to predict, especially simulated physics, because sometimes it just decides untrue things. um Anytime you shoot somebody with a rocket and they fly off a map, that's comedy because it's subverting expectations. That's comedy. And that is sort of built into simulated physics, or is built into physics simulations, um, because they are not perfect, but also they are they are not perfect and they are mildly unpredictable. So that, but again, this goes into like, okay, so they have something which makes for a great experience, but it is like, it is a piece, not a designed experience. It is like, Halo is like if you had chess, or if you bought chess and you played it once by the rules that come in the box, and you go, oh, this is kind of miserable, and then you just start making up your own rules because actually the pieces are good and the board is good and you can do a lot with it, and you make up way better games to play with chess pieces on a chessboard. That's kind of the Halo experience to me, is what if chess sucked but all of the pieces in the box were good. Which, God, and this came up yesterday, about like modded games and hardware, and it's just like, okay, if the thing can be made good with a little work on your behalf, whether that's through modding or changing rule sets or throwing away the original rules and using the pieces, if you can create something good with the pieces of something, but the thing is not good as originally presented, is that thing good? And this is a real, like, not psychological, not physiological, philosophical. This is a real, like, philosophical argument. It's very my grandfather's axe, my grandfather's chess. But it is sort of like a similar thing, right? It's just like, okay, there is something good here. Something good can be made out of these parts, but it's not the thing you made. But I can turn what you made into the good thing. Like, does that make the thing good? Is it good based on its potential or based on what it is as presented? I don't have an answer for this because it's a philosophical question, and most of those are... If it had a good answer, it wouldn't be a philosophical question, If it had a clear answer, and at that point, like, okay, then how about we not get angry over it because we're never going to be able to reach an agreement on it. But the Halo pieces are pretty fun. Now I'm just thinking about Halo. All right, let's finish this episode. I might have to stream Halo. I've been thinking about things I can do as bonus streams. Good, this is also narrow. I have so much health. Yeah, that's the thing. They do surround you with monsters at this outro, but also just being in the space hurts you because you need to die in order to continue. Alright, let's start on 2. I've been thinking about bonus streams I could play. I do love this. I do love that. It's just like, oh yeah, that big upside down cross. I want to play House Flipper because you want to talk about game. Oh yeah, this is um. Nah, you missed the intro. We are. This is a show about exploration, not about challenge. So we always play on the easiest, and we'll use cheat codes if easy is still too hard. Um. There we go. Yeah, that's. I remember that map. Um. I've been thinking about House Flipper a lot. Because House Flipper is like that is weirdly a game about tedium. Although now I've maxed out almost every skill, and most of the skill upgrades are just do it faster. Uh, but like House Flipper, like that I can either run that like as a chill stream, or there is totally a concept of being able to run that as like a travelogue stream like this travel WAD, and then these crush. Yep, I remember this level. Oh, I got crushed. Um, because House Flipper, there is like the intro where not the intro, but like the early. Why did I get a red key here? Wait. No, that's totally true, isn't it? Is that there ends up being a Oh, I got crushed again. Why am I backtracking? Why am I getting crushed so often? Um, because you get the red key, but then the red key is like a secret exit, I think. Um, House Flipper is. I'm gonna finish the sentence at some point. These just move so quick. Um, like the beginning hours of House Flipper are about basically being a handyman and doing odd jobs. I can hear things moving. Is it just moving off screen in order to give you that sound? That'd be interesting. Um, but then the later game of House Flipper is just, hey, here's a bunch of houses. Buy one, clean it up, and then there's like a list of like there's like a list of buyers, and they have things that they want out of a house, and it's like, hey, try to tailor these houses to as many of these people as possible, to try and get the most money out of them for your work, for what you put into them. But the other thing about that is like you could tailor them for these people, or you could just build whatever you want in these houses as long as you have enough money. And that's kind of the part of the game that I'm at, where like I wouldn't even run it to play the game for that trying to sell these houses bit. I would just play the game for, hey, let's just collaboratively interior decorate in here. Why all the squishing today? Hey. Wait, why is there a secret in here? Okay. Oh, yeah, it's still in the line. Oh, yeah, I remember the screaming face wall. The screaming sliding face wall. But I feel like running interior design would be very much in the wheelhouse of these travelogue streams, because it is just about like, hey, let's look at the the design of spaces, let's look at the use of spaces, let's look at the decoration of spaces, let's look at adding a sense of like realism and like human artifacts to these spaces in a way that I think totally fits in this zone. But at that point, turn a house into a Doom level. Yeah, there's your auto map. Good. That's what I wanted. That's what I want to see. Oh no! Don't tell me the opening door I can actually go through. Actual secrets. Oh, these do have secret exits on them. Oh, hey, guy. I don't know if I've ever... Oh, God, that's what was happening, huh? I don't know if I ever played the secret level of episode 2. It wouldn't fit as a travelogue, however, if only because of it would be closer to a Gaiden because it would be us creating the space rather than observing and learning from the spaces. So I think that would still be all right. I think that could still be fun. I think I would still have fun with those streams, but it's my question is still sort of whether that really fits the vibe of this series, this brand of streams, you know? I think it's still worth doing. It's just a question of what am I going to do it under. Yeah, I don't think I recognize this level at all. The Fortress of Mystery. Great. My hand's not on the mouse. John Carmack and John Romero were the two Johns who worked on Doom. You were right. I don't remember which one is the head. I want to say it's Romero's head. I heard something. Well, that's a short level. There weren't even monsters on this level. Maybe there was one. I don't remember if I killed him or not. Okay. See what I mean? Some of these, when you distill them down into the things that happen on them, they are very short. What is going on over here? This hallway gets even narrower. Now I just want to wait for the vulnerability to wear off so I can look at this level, and I'm trying to remember where we are. This is the spawning vats? Oh, these might be the vats. Yeah. I mean, I like the original Doom. I don't remember much past the shareware. Yep. All right. You know, I don't know why it's that. It might actually be like a balancing thing that the invulnerability is so. Oh my god. Hey, I'm gonna save for the first time. 1D. 1D. because like it's like, yeah, no, you're invisible. You can use the chainsaw. You can use whatever your highest DPS is and get right up on them, so that way you get a perfect accuracy. Um, but you don't want to. It's not a Mario star, I guess. I'm doing this juking wrong. Oh, I need him to fall down before I do. Okay. Yeah, that is that. Yeah, that's how that ends. Uh. All right, and then we're floating above hell itself. Oh no. Well, better go down there. There. Here we go. Man, we are flying through these. But I still think the idea that this is what this is like. This is based on how nostalgia feels is pretty much right. Because like we are flying through these in about as long as it takes for you to go like, oh, remember the part where you do this? Yeah, and then you do this, and then you do this, and then you do this, and it's the way that we store memories, and that's why that's actually the best metric for the way that a level for the how long a level feels, because it is exactly tied to the way that we store memories about it, and like how often does the level prompt us to form a new memory, you know? If we do a bunch of stuff that is the same stuff, we don't need to form a new memory about it, and then it's not novel, then it's tedious, you know? That's something that I'm gonna apply this to both like Symphony of the Night and Mega Man. Like Mega Man is jump and shoot game, right? And though you do kind of get powers, there are people, you know, you can very well enough play that entire game with the default weapon, and your actions are a very small set, with no real power curve, minor power curve. But and you know, you want to talk about Castlevania, jump and whip, and you know, whatever, or various swords in Symphony of the Night. Because like Symphony of the Night also has that sort of Metroid thing where it's just like yeah, it's a big area to explore, and it's non-linear, but it's pretty linear because like, okay, to do this first I need to do this, to do that first I need to do this, and there's like a set order that you essentially need to do things in, and everything else is optional, right? To reach the ending. But in both of those game series, whatever, the enemies are so like there's such a breadth of enemies that you need many of them. You need to take. You need to learn how to deal with them uniquely. That those are your novel thoughts. Those are your novel. Those are what prompt you to form memories. And that's why those games like feel long and feel full and feel strong, is because you're constantly just like, oh, there's a new enemy, I gotta learn him too. And even though what you're doing is essentially repetitive, you are forming so many new thoughts that you're just like, wow, there is so much here and there's so much to remember, you know? See, this is a little sad because I like this little intro because there's like a well and a bonfire, and I think they're roasting a person on the bonfire. But you know, a barbecue is still a barbecue. I'm not going to complain. I'll go to a barbecue. Whoa, wow. Okay, yeah, I do remember that happening. this is a nice curiosity, and you know, like I said, I don't think we're aside from this like time warp perspective, narrow vision cone as way to hide far off things. I don't think we're really learning much by playing through this, but just the way. Whoa, yeah, that's demon castles. This is a great example of just how sort of like novelty and memory formation are linked, and the way that's just like, yeah, no, these are entirely recognizable because they have distilled these levels down to the interesting, memorable parts, and just strung them together and just. Yeah, no, that is that whole level. That is that big hand, and you're just sort of navigating the maze of this canyon, and that's the majority of it. Oh, that's the one that has a secret exit, though, isn't it? I missed that one too. It's also, you know what? Oh, I remember this high up meat zone. Oh, but that's what I mean. I remember this high up meat zone, and this is definitely that. Like, yes, they've done a good job capturing it, which I'm not going to say was very hard because it's just like recreate it, use the same textures, follow the procedure of events and things you encounter, and you have the fights, the enemies, the textures, the staircases, the elevation, like all of that just comes with just sort of recreating the elements that you find or the elements that you encounter. But it's just creating this, just like it activates the memory neurons, you know. But yeah, this is a great example of how that all works. More than anything we're learning from it itself. This is just like beautifully demonstrating a point that I've been harping on for pretty much the entire time I've been doing this series. Can I get 2 cheeseburgers and a large fry? Thank you. Oh, all right. Thank you. That's how that works, right? That's what that was. Ooh! 2 was all it took. Ow, ow, ow. See, it's a pain zone, but it's a gag because it's also full of health. It's like, oh, I get hurt here. That's the memorable part. We're not actually interested in that. Oh, House of Pain, jump around. Yeah. What? I mean, okay, so either they got sick of doing this, didn't think that anyone would get this far, and so didn't put the effort into it, or there was really nothing that interesting about that level. I do remember the Unholy Cathedral and having some zones, but yeah, it's kind of all visual memory. Jeez. Let's see. Ooh, here we go. Okay, that felt like a secret exit. Yep. I mean, yeah, you can always add more enemies on harder difficulties. Wait. Did that just reset us? Or is the secret level in this episode just the first episode again? Or is it broken? What? Wait. Do I not know anything about the secret levels in the second 2 episodes? I would believe it. There we go. Okay. And then there's... Oh, God. Oops. Okay, and then we leave that. I like... I do like that. I like... I mean, I love recontextualizing areas anytime you see it. Um... I love going through his... I love when levels are essentially hidden picture games. And it's like, okay, you're going to run through this level. Later, we're going to have you run through this level again. But then you're going to notice that things are different. Whether that's layout or like proportions of spaces, or like new areas added. You know, what's changed, what's been added. Or sometimes even just like, hey, we're going to put you in an area, and then over the course of other areas, we're going to teach you other things about the world around you and about how to like read parts of the environment for what they mean. And then you get dumped back into that first area and you're just like, oh, this zone is full of stuff that I just did not recognize any of it as stuff before. That one's nice because that's like an internal change, but I do also like when you make an external change. You know, it's like I was talking about with the you know, part of one of my themes for that 10 and 1024 map that we've been working on stream is that like an awareness of your surroundings. The more aware of your surroundings you are, the more uneasy you feel. Or hopefully you feel uneasy because you're subconsciously aware of your surroundings, but then you don't realize why you feel uneasy until it throws it in your face what's going on, you know. Oops. Gate to Limbo? How does the first game end? How many cyber demons are we gonna fight? Whoops. Went away. Whoops. Came back. Whoops. Went away. The idea of the memorable thing about a level being that you receive the protection you need when you're done with the area where you would need it is hilarious to me. Look at me, I'm rolling on the floor laughing my ass off. Funniest thing I ever did see. Oh, now we gotta handle this. Is that true for die in space? What do we... Oh! Yeah. Spider brain. This tracks. I always forget about the spider brain because it's dumb. Alright, and that's Doom 1 pretty much just as you remember it. Spider Demon. Hey, could I get a spidered Amon? And we go back to Earth, and there's a bunny, and nothing bad happens. I keep forgetting that when I click it, it goes. Okay. I'm gonna get that off the screen because it makes me unhappy. It really does. And the music is so weird. Hey, folks. Maybe a little shorter than a normal episode today, but that's fine. I've been on a lot of streams lately. If you... I'll put it in if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll put links below to some of the people I've been streaming with. They're all cool. I am very picky about people, so if I'm recommending you check them out, you can trust that they are going to be like chill, cool people who, you know, your taste may vary, but they're not going to give you a headache. They're going to be nice. and they're going to be fun to watch. I think they're fun to watch, at least. I have very particular tastes. I will say that much. What does that even mean? Uh, so I'm okay calling it easy because I do kind of need a break from long hardcore streams. There's already talks about Extra Life in November, and that is woof. That is more than I want to think about right now. Uh, but yeah, thanks for coming out and joining me. I hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll be back with something else next week, and until then, get your vaccination. Do it. There's no reason not to. It's your civic duty. It's not a matter of personal choice. It is a civic duty. Getting your vaccine protects others. It is a moral thing. We can have that argument later, but please just do it. Until you can get your vaccine, stay home as much as you can. If you do have to go out, wear your mask. Your mask protects others. Again, like, it's kind of a personal choice, but actually it is like a civic and moral duty because you are protecting others through your actions. Wash your hands more often than you normally would. That's just good advice for most people anyway. Learn to recognize power dynamics. Learn to recognize who the victims in a situation are and who is just claiming to be the victims when actually they're the oppressors. Pro tip: generally, if the side that you're hearing more from, you hear from more often, is the side who has the power to be heard, which probably makes them the dominant power in the situation. That's my theory. That's what I generally work off of. The people that I hear from least are the people who is just like, oh, I don't hear from them very often. I wonder if why they are so hard for them to get their word out. Remember that neutrality isn't real. Neutrality always sides with the oppressor. And the rule that underlines the rest of these rules is take care of one another. See you next week.